Hey everyone, this is Yuri Rashkin, and what I will be discussing on this video is how to do a good job on your next assignment, which just happens to be a persuasive speech outline. A good way to get successful at something is to have a template. I always find it useful to have at least a template, if not an example, to help me navigate my way through an assignment, especially at first. Well, you have done already the informative speech outline, so you have a pretty good idea of what I'm looking for in an outline and perhaps even what a good outline looks like. There you go, because of course it's one and the same. So now we're going to take a look at the persuasive speech outline. It has some similarities to the informative speech, but of course in some ways it is different from the informative speech, hence the name, persuasive, right? Let's start at the top. First things first, there's the two paragraphs that I expected on the informative speech that I'm expecting on the persuasive speech as well. Paragraph 1, and of course when I say paragraph, I mean between 3 and 5 sentences. So in the first paragraph is your audience analysis. This is where you're supposed to tell me in 3 to 5 sentences why this topic is interesting to us, how you're gonna make it interesting to us, both with your words and perhaps with your actions. Next paragraph is your credibility paragraph. Here you need to tell us why you are credible, not why the topic is credible, because I've had several students who feel that they need to explain to us that this is an important topic. No, I believe you. The point is, why should we listen to you? And this is where it's kind of difficult because we're kind of humble. We don't like to talk about ourselves very much. I get it. But you still have to explain to me why you are any sort of an expert on this topic if you want me to spend the next 5, 6, 7 minutes paying attention. So please give us that credibility. Of course, remember that I'm looking for numbers. When there's several points in a presentation when numbers are crucial, credibility is one of them. Here's where you can quantify your passion and you can tell me how many hours you have watched this certain show. Not just I've always done it, but give me a number. Multiply if you have to. You have calculators on your smartphones. Raise your hand if you have a smartphone, right? So this is where you can give us some numbers and sound like, just don't think about it during the presentation. Don't say, I think that I've spent about, wow, that's a lot of hours that I've spent. No, do this before. This is what the outline is for, so you can write this down. Show your work. No, I don't need to see your work. So write down some numbers for credibility, and now you have a paragraph for audience analysis, and you have a paragraph for your credibility on this particular topic, and you are ready to proceed to the actual outline. Outline, as before, consists of introduction, body, and conclusion. And in fact, introduction is basically the same, whether it's informative speech or persuasive speech. First, we need to get the attention of our audience, and I've discussed this more than once. Please think of either a question, very popular way to get the audience engaged and relate the topic to the audience, or a quote, or a story, or a statistic. After this, you have your credibility statement. And after this, you have your reason to listen statement, which is what you just covered in the paragraphs above. Just synthesize it, right? After that, you tell us what you're there to speak about. And after that, you are to preview your 3 main points or your argument. And then after that, you have a transition and you launch into the body of the speech. And here is where you have your first big decision to make, because you can go in the route of compare advantages, or you can go in the route of problem, cause, solution. Those are the 2 choices. Please pick only one. There's no reason to do both because really you can only present it once. So pick which route you want to go. Here's the difference. If you're going with the route of problem, cause, solution, that means that you are going to begin by stating what the problem is, and you're going to give us 2 subpoints about it. And then you're going to give us causes or effects of this problem, and you're going to give us 2 subpoints about it. And then after that, you can give us a solution to this problem, because You were just telling us something terrible, and you explain how this is affecting us. Everybody, I'm sure a lot of people are thinking climate change, but there's a lot of topics that this can be a good fit for, right? And then and then you tell us the causes or effects of climate change. And then after that, you get to the solutions. And again, 2 sub-points. You may want to talk about solutions on the societal level, or solutions on an individual level, or solutions on like legal level, where laws we can pass, and also personal things we can do. So that, for instance, that could be an example of problem, cause, solution, order for a speech. Or you could go with the other route where it's called compare advantages. Here, all you have to do is just say 3 things why we should do something or why something is great. This is where a lot of informative speeches somehow end up going, because we just feel so passionate about things, I guess. But here is where I want you to really sell me on the whatever it is that you're promoting, not inform me, right? So give me 3 reasons why something is a good thing to do, or something is useful, or something is the best, or something is amazing, whatever, or something is terrible. But then if something is terrible, then you're looking at a problem, cost, solution. So probably not something is terrible, right? Okay. And the way you do it functionally, looking at the template, is you give 3 examples of this compare advantages. And for every one of these, you have the same pattern. You first make a claim, then you offer your evidence, and then you offer a conclusion. Then you have a transition, and you go on to the next claim, evidence, conclusion. Claim, evidence, conclusion. You do this 3 times. Magic number 3, right? One more thing to not miss that a lot of people struggle with is counter-argument. For every argument we need to make, someone's got a counter-argument. If you're not sure what the counter-argument to your idea is, talk to somebody. I'm sure a friend can help poke some holes in your idea. That's what friends are for, right? Tough room. So here's what, for example, I had a student from China who was trying to figure out what he wanted to promote, and he came up with the idea that he wanted to promote the idea of drinking hot water. That's what he's been taught by his parents. When you're stressed, when there's a problem, just make yourself a cup of hot water, and you're good. And then you drink it, and it helps. And he couldn't possibly figure out what could be a counter-argument. I suggested that perhaps people could burn their mouth with hot water. That could be a counter-argument, right? And then after that, you explain that perhaps if you wait a couple of minutes while the water cools down, you're not going to burn your lips or your tongue with hot water. So every speech needs to have a counter-argument. It may be somewhere inside the body of the speech, but it must be there. And in fact, it is very important that it's there, to the point that I'm asking you, student that's going to be writing an outline, right? Please tell me where your counter argument is. Say counter argument. And then I'll know that that's your counter argument, and I'll know that you got it, and I'll give you credit for it. You can put it anywhere in the body of the speech. In fact, some people used counter arguments as a jump off point to talk about whatever it is they want to talk about. So for instance, I had a student from Africa who wanted to give a speech about explaining why Africa is not such a bad place, that people have a lot of misconceptions about it. And so he came up with 3 reasons why, 3 myths about Africa, and then throughout his speech he kind of blew up those myths and showed that they were really not true and not accurate representation of reality. So you start with a counter argument, and then you've got the counter argument, and you've got your full speech. So you have a choice which way you want to go with this. It's up to you. Think about your particular topic. If you have a question, let me know. I'd be glad to give you some input and feedback on your particular situation. Some topics will fit into both, and then you have to decide which one is best for you. All right, so now you have the body of the outline for your persuasive speech, and we are proceeding to the conclusion. Congratulations, you have made it to the conclusion. Of course, you remember to put a transition there, right? You remember to put a transition between the introduction and the body, and you remember to put a transition between the body and a conclusion, right? Okay, good. Now we restate the thesis. We've done this before. This is not the end of the world. We can do this. So we restate the thesis and we restate the main points, just like in the informative speech. But here comes the catch. Here you need to have next call to action. And I have very strong feelings about this because that to me is what makes a speech truly persuasive, is when we tell our audience to do something. And in this case, I am asking you to tell us what to do. And I'm asking you to think about it and be very specific. If there's an app that we can download, if there is a movie we can watch, if there's a book we can read, if there's an event we can attend virtually or otherwise, please be specific. If you're going to tell us about something that is happening on campus that we should take a part of, like student study abroad program, give us the information for the coordinator. Where can we go if we have questions? And I'll tell you why I think this is very, very important. From all my experience in volunteering, when you call people and you ask them to vote, it's not enough that they just say, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for our candidate. That's great. You also need to talk to them about, do they have a plan for voting? Do they know when they're going to be voting throughout the day, how they're going to be voting? And they're very specific, because studies have shown the more specific people are, the more likely they are to follow through with this plan and actually do what it is that they should be doing in the first place, which is voting. Right? So I'm asking you to be very specific and tell me exactly what it is that you want each member of the audience to do about this, to make this dream that you have a reality. And thus you made it all the way, almost. We got to have a memorable closing statement. Well, that's easy. That's a fact or story or a quote. Right? So if you have a fact, and I want to leave you with this fact, or I want to leave you with this story, I want to leave you with this quote, done. Bam, bum, ba-da-dum, bump, and you are done, except for the annotated bibliography. This time it gets a little bit more challenging. Instead of 3 sources, you need to have 5 sources. One of those sources needs to be from a peer-reviewed publication. You have all access to libraries, virtual and otherwise, hopefully virtual, but do some research, find some interesting material, Google it, and bring me one source from peer-reviewed publication. Give me choices if you're not sure which one you may want to use. And one of your 5 topics, so I guess there'll be one out of your 5 topic sources, needs to be an interview. And I will go very briefly over the interview ideas. I believe there are 3 levels of people that you can contact as sources, as references for interviewing your topic. Number 1, people at the top of the food chain, your Congress people, your senators, your people who are running different sports leagues, people who are running different colleges, people who are running NCAA, if your speech is about paying college athletes, the very top of the food chain. I don't know, email LeBron James if you're going to do a speech about him. Level 2 is to talk to people around you who are professionals. Talk to doctors, coaches, people who may have expertise locally, but that you can reach out to and ask a few questions. Really, 3 to 5 questions. And the third level are just your peers, people that are really next to you, your family members, who can at least give you some extra credibility that this is maybe indeed a problem or a solution that would be good and fitting. So you have 3 levels, top, middle, and bottom of the food chain. It is up to you what you can do. How you can incorporate your interview into the presentation is up to you. The only thing I do not want is I don't want a PowerPoint slide where I asked this question and I got this answer. I got this question and I got this answer. That's boring. Let's not do that. So think about how you can incorporate your interview into this presentation. But for now, well, I will just say that you can do a video. You can cut to a video of the person that you spoke to, or you can just have a quote. You can end. Remember how you're supposed to end with a quote? Well, maybe this is your opportunity to have that quote from your source. So you can end with a quote. Be creative how you can fit in that information, but it gives you a more opportunity to think about your topic and synthesize an important thought to kind of think about what it is that you're presenting. Again, think about topics that you already know a lot about, that you already care about. Don't start from total scratch. Really give this some thought already. So you have now 5 sources. You have 3 regular sources, whatever they may be. 1 is from a peer-reviewed publication of some kind, and 1 is an interview with somebody in regard to your topic. For each of these, you need to have an APA citation followed by a paragraph of an explanation, 3 to 5 sentences of why this is a relevant source for your presentation. Remember not to use personal pronouns such as I, me, you, us, we. Be creative of how you can write that annotated bibliography without resorting to personal pronouns. Is there anything else you need to know? Of course, you need a visual aid for the actual presentation, be it a PowerPoint, be it an object, a graph, chart, video, whatever. It's up to you, but you do need to have a video for your presentation. Important point. You may not be able to complete your interview before your paper is due. So for instance, you may have an interview scheduled, but the person is not able to meet with you before your paper is due. This is what I want you to do. Put your bibliography, and remember, in that bibliography, no personal pronouns, even when speaking about interviews, because there's ways of citing interviews in APA that does not require use of personal pronouns. So again, no personal pronouns. But you can put that citation for the interview as if it already happened, and then just, that you spoke with Dr. Smith about this situation because he's of course, okay, I'm sorry, let me take this back. Dr. Smith is a good source for this speech because Dr. Smith is an authority in this field and has been conducting surgeries or examinations for 30 years and knows everything about this particular area that has a great field of expertise area in what I'm speaking about. If things change between the time that you turn in your paper and the time that you are giving your presentation, that's life. The way I look at it, that's life. Things happen, things get better. I like to hope that you didn't make your paper and your presentation worse, you made it better. So if you are turning in new improved work that has better quality sources, better interview, whatever, or things just changed and you weren't able to get together with Dr. Smith and you got together with Dr. Brown, whatever, that's perfectly fine. But for the purpose of the outline, please have your 5 sources. Please have your paragraphs. Please have your introduction, body, and conclusion. And reach out to me if you have any questions. That's about it. Thanks so much for watching. That was your Persuasive Speech Outline with a Template by Yuri Rashkin.